Welcome to the BXG Podcast, the podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet.
You think it's just going to be barbecue sauce?
Because if you actually read those books, it's just gobbledygook.
I really think clothes should be mandatory.
Speaking of Star Wars,
Captain America.
trailer reaction video. Welcome back to another BXG Productions review discussion on the excuse me, Lord, frog in my throat. Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. This show this week was a little bit more action packed with Arondir and Bronwyn luring the orcs into a different some sort of different ambushes, but then the tables were turned as they were themselves ambushed after realizing that they were fighting their own, only to be saved by the riders of Rohan, I mean Numenor, who came in. And I'm going to be honest with you, after that I kind of tuned out because this show fucking sucks.
Okay, so if you had watched the
what's his name? I'm sorry, I apologize. I should say
okay,
I should come back and say that what's his name said that he killed that he killed Sauron, the half elf orc, or Uruk. We prefer to be called Uruks.
Yeah,
is what he said. Killed Sauron allegedly.
Yeah, it just
doesn't end.
If you had watched our House of Dragons thing, which I hope you had before you watched this,
Adar,
because
the name of that orc, half elf.
I said how I had to fast forward a few seconds because I didn't think things were happening, but it's not like things were happening. I just had to get to it. This was a show where I was fast forwarding, and literally I was like, I could just keep doing this because there were actual slow motion scenes of people not even in.
Oh my god,
that was the thing. It was crazy to me. That was the crazy thing about this. It wasn't even action scenes. And so this is how, and I wrote a note and I left it at school, unfortunately, but I wrote a note saying, this is someone that had only ever experienced action movies. They're like, you have only watched Sylvester Stallone movies, you have only watched the Rambo series, and maybe you've watched like a couple other 80s action movies. Now we want you to write a script for a serious show. And they're like, cool. So I'm going to have a bunch of stuff and then slow motion when it doesn't matter. And the plot is kind of here, but it's way back here. It's way back here. Like, I know what's happening, but number one, I don't care because you've done nothing to make us interested in it because we know what happens. And that's the thing. Like, we've talked about this. The writing on this show, I swear to God, if this show gets nominated for, and it may because it was spent so much money, so anything
other than makeup,
yeah. But production shouldn't even get. It looks terrible though. It looks bad. When the volcano hit, this is the other thing I wrote. I remember it now. When the volcano, like the whole explosion, the eruption, when it hits and everything looks like the tower. It looks like a volcano. I'm sorry. It looked like a volcano. The tower looking like a volcano. That's what I had. Sorry. The tower looking like a volcano erupting. That's what I meant to say. The tower looking like a volcano.
Talk for a while.
No. The tower looking like a volcano erupting.
No.
No. The tower, you have to remember, I'm going back off of my notes of a show that I was like very displeased with. The tower looked like a volcano erupting. And I was like, I looked up hoping one of those embers would hit me just so I didn't have to watch the show anymore. I was like, please come out of my screen and hit me.
So I don't want to talk.
But go ahead, Ren. Sorry.
I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk senseless crap. Let's put some context behind this.
Good. Okay. Fair enough.
A little bit of context behind this. And then I think I have a Nerdist. I might have a Nerdist thing that I would like to read you. I know how much you love. Okay.
I love Nerdist. They do all the research none of the time.
I know how much you love Nerdist stuff. Oh God, when did this show come out? It's a okay. Yeah, there it is. Excuse me. I do not find a single one of the characters in this show remotely interesting. And I know that a lot of people have had an outcry because of the non-canon presentation of different races, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This doesn't have my dislike for the characters or the fact that I find them uninteresting does not matter if they are black, white, or candy stripe. They are just not interesting. None of them are interesting. There's not one like when you're watching Lord of the Rings. I know you said you're not a big fan of the Hobbit, right? The Hobbits, but there are times where when you're watching those movies and you say to yourself, "Oh, Gandalf is on screen and I like him, so I'm really going to pay attention," or "I really like the relationship between Legolas and Gimli," or "Aragorn's surely to do something cool," etc. There's characters where it's like, okay, that my guy is on screen. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to really focus now. But there's not any of it, like none of these characters. There's no one that's even remotely interesting.
No.
There's not a single character who makes me feel like I need to pay attention because this character's on screen. Like Galadriel is so overpowered in this show. She's like the best example that I can think of this is that when you play a game the whole way through and level your guy up, and then you start New Game Plus and you're just this level 99 monster against like level 2 things at the very beginning of the game, and you're just rolling through them. That's what she's like. And she's like everything she made, like her character, everything is like, how do we make her look cool? Okay, we're gonna have her do these horse saddle things where she flies off, and then while she's doing that, she's gonna shoot an arrow. And it's not like her character is probably the closest thing to an interesting character, because
Right.
there is this, like, with her, there's this sort of, she seems to have a problem with authority, which I can respect because so do I. And she has this just rage in her, but it doesn't come out like that. She comes out as being less like, I am driven by the need for revenge for my brother who was slain, and more of just this sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Pretentious. She's like pretentious.
She is pretentious.
And she's just like looking down on everyone. And it kind of came out a little bit at the end of this episode where she was in the building with Adar, the half elf rock. And she almost, I was like, do it. Fucking cut his head off just to make this remotely interesting.
Why didn't she do it? That's what made me so mad.
Because it's Amazon.
Yeah.
This is like the equivalent of Disney.
The phrase of like, she is the born on third base, acting like she had a home run kind of mentality. It's like you said pretentious. I think it's the same thing. It's like she's so much better than everything else she goes against. And then the other thing is and I know I'm wrong when I say this, but I was watching this and I'm like, are the Lord of the Rings movies not good? Like, did I start reflecting back? Because I haven't seen them in a long time. And it's like, is this young me because I didn't know any better, and like things are happening, and I'm like, oh, of course this movie's good. It looks cool, and like, arrows and
no,
and all that shit.
That is
and I was
no.
like, right, and I know that it's like those movies are good, but I was like, there's this weird part of me where I was like, there was a question to myself. It's like, was I just wrong when I was younger? Now I know the answer is no, and I won't go back and watch those because I don't have that kind of time. But it was that weird thing where like, I should have never had that thought cross my mind. this show should have been at least good enough that I never would have been like, wait a minute, were the Lord of the Rings good movies, or was I just 20 years old and thought everything was good at that time? That's the problem with this show, is like there's nothing redeeming about this show that makes me care about it. Like you said, there's no character I care about. The scenes don't matter. It was just they try and they slow-mo. That's everything.
Man.
That's
I'll tell
crazy.
you what.
Like, I don't even know what they're doing.
I
Why
felt
are you doing this?
like I was watching a review to see if someone was safe at first base.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like,
yeah,
it was like safe at first base, but I was going to look at it as like we're both feet down, and then you need to zero in on like the white line to see if he was out of bounds.
It was rough. It was rough.
It's rough. It's a rough show.
And I feel like they spent 450. They almost spent $500 million on this show. They could have done something like given that money to charity. Just give the money to charity.
Give the money to writers.
Instead of making season 2, just give the money to charity. And everybody would be better off for it.
If this show was $100 million and they just paid writers better, I bet it would have been better. It just, but they didn't care, and like it shows. They just didn't care. I don't
know. Do I have this up? Yeah. It was written like this episode was written by the showrunners.
No, I get that. I don't. I think their thing was just like, it'll look cool. Who cares? Their thing was like, who cares what it costs? It'll look, or who cares if it's good? It'll look cool. But it also doesn't look cool. It looks really bad.
It is.
Most of the time.
When you add marketing, they spent over $1 billion on this. $1 billion on this.
It makes me mad in a lot of ways, and I won't even be the biggest way it makes me mad, but this show sucks. Honestly, I would flat out, if we weren't doing it for this podcast, it would have been out 3 episodes ago. Like,
yeah,
I would have started it.
How many episodes?
I like Lord of the Rings.
Is this almost over?
I hope so. Over? I mean, I do kind of like shitting on it. I will say, like, watching it and just looking for the things to shit on is kind of fun. But this show's bad.
There's 2 episodes left. Thank
Lord. God, Jesus. That's how you know there's God. He ends this thing at some point. They haven't renewed it yet or anything, have they?
I believe it did get. Let me double check. Well, it had a really strong debut, and I think they were like, "Oh,
it did have a strong rating." Yeah, because literally everything has a strong debut, and then.
Well, Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop
had a strong review, and it got canceled.
Or did didn't get renewed, but
the season 2's already started. It started production today, so. There's that. Via the Nerdist, are you ready to pull your hair out?
I mean, I need a haircut anyhow, so probably wouldn't hurt.
Is Halbrand the Rings of Power's Aragorn, or is he secretly Sauron? Put my feet up for this one. Okay. Lay on, McDuck.
I don't know what. I just like IGN, and this is how I describe it to Jamie. It's like
Nerdist?
I just imagine
not IGN
or Nerdist. I'm sorry.
Well, IGN gave this episode a 10 out of 10, so that
they gave it. I'm sorry, that's why but both of these, but Nerdist. I imagine the guy that reviews these episodes is just like pants down immediately for these. He just loves the guy, he or she. I don't know, or they. Just loves this person does not care what it's about. It's just like, this is somehow related to whatever. They love most of the stuff. They give it a good review even when it's bad. And by good, I mean like not crappy. They refuse to crap on this. And to answer that question, neither. He's not either of these things.
I'll tell you what, I didn't actually have to put any thought into this. He's probably a ring wraith.
Could be a ring wraith, and
those were the men who were given the rings by Sauron.
Yeah.
So
it's when you're reaching for things like that. Obviously, I mean, my guess is you're getting paid.
By who? Well, yeah, I mean everybody gets paid. I mean the
But I mean, you're
person
getting paid by
that Nerdist.
Amazon.
Eh.
You could be. Why wouldn't you be? You paid $1 billion on this. Why would you not throw a couple $100,000 at a company and be like, "Hey,
I'm
write us
Googling it.
not crappy reviews"?
Ooh, the ring. This is Screen Rant, which is actually even worse than Nerdist. Screen Rant is the worst.
Yeah, Screen Rant is the worst.
They might have just confirmed Halbrand is Sauron because of, I don't know. I don't want to read this. So there's that. Anyway,
There's that.
I don't like this show. I don't like this show.
Well, I'm glad you and I are on the same, because there's a thing where I was very skeptical before we started this, and you were.
We did the trailer. No. We did the trailer reaction. We're like, okay, right. that looks great.
But I mean, once we started that first episode, you and I were like, not as good on it, and then I was nervous that like it would maybe get better towards your point of view, and then not as good. But we both just think this show sucks, which makes me happy.
Well, and I'm going to be honest with you. I was looking at some of because it's 84 critical, and
so those people have never seen anything ever.
38 audience, and I was expecting to go into the audience and think like, okay, it's going to be a bunch of like, oh, this stupid agenda, shoving an agenda down my throat, blah 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 blah. But it's a lot of the same things that we say. It's like, wow, the writing is really bad.
It's just bad writing. I mean, I don't want to do but if I want to do a full-on breakdown, like there's scenes where like they say stuff to each other, and they are just saying back. They're just going back and forth saying the exact same thing. It's so funny. It's so funny. Like I said this, and like, yes, you did say this, and I will say this, and you said this too, and this is where we're at, and that's literally the writing.
The problem. I think the biggest problem with this show is that it's just that at times the environments look beautiful at times.
Yeah.
But when there's nothing in those environments, those cities, those villages, those fields, whatever, that make you feel literally anything, then it's wasted.
Correct.
And I think that's the biggest, because there's just no interesting characters or stories or plot lines. If season 2 doesn't come out of the gate like Usain Bolt running the 100-meter dash, and it gets renewed for a third season, then you'll just know that Jeff Bezos is just like, fuck it, light the world on fire.
Yeah.
Who cares? Money is just a thing.
And money is just a thing.
$1 billion.
Yeah. Imagine the people you could feed in the United States and I hate to get in that, but imagine what you could do instead of feeding people this crap.
So if you agree or like our content, like, subscribe, and share. And if you don't agree, pick up a book, maybe.
Also, if you don't agree, let us know why you think. I would honestly, and I want to get in this, and this can be in our actual podcast when I talk about something else. I would like to know why you think this is good. I seriously would like to know why you think this is good.
Ring the bell. Let us know.
Ring it. Do it.
Take care. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.